a great thing, but we need to be mindful of that and take time out. I'll even allude back to what you said about, was it the first time you journaled in prison when you wrote down that list? Was that
No,
kind of the first?
no, not the first time. I had journaled steadily, just as a way, as an outlet. I'd grown up journaling. My dad was a writer. I'd always written just because I was told to by my father. But so I wrote because I didn't have anybody else to talk to. I lived with a guy who hated me, and well, he didn't. Depending on which personality he was having that day, he hated me. Sometimes he did, but we went days and didn't talk, and so I would write just as a way. But that particular time was, boy, that was a life-changing event.
Yeah, no, I think anybody who feels stuck, that's why I enjoy Twitter too in our community. I think because you can it's a brain dump sometimes. Like
It
my,
is.
my tweets, I don't plan them. I plan usually one tweet a day, and the rest, whatever I'm thinking, I put out there. Whatever I want to talk about, I just get to put out there. It's very cathartic, and I'm a big fan of that. And I think anybody listening, start journaling. People are intimidated by that term journaling. All that means you just, you can write down what your goals are for the week, what they are for the day, what you'd like to accomplish here or there, what you don't like about yourself and would like to improve. Journal what steps it takes to get there. I mean, you can start small with these things and improve on them, right?
You can just write a daily log just to start. That's not scary.
Right.
Today I went to work and I did this thing and then I did that thing and I did this thing. And a few days after that, you might write at the bottom, and I was really crappy at XYZ, or I did something really good today. So it just is a process. It just is a process. You have to get used to it. And I don't care if you chuck it. All those journals I had written in my first year of my incarceration were very dark. There was stuff in there I never ever want anyone to know about. I was vengeful against partners, against judges, and the people that I had dealt with that I felt like were all terrible and whatever else. And I was vindictive and planning bad things. I wrote all that down, and so I threw all that away. Sometimes I would be interested to look at it again. So you don't have to keep it, but there's something wonderful at the end of the day to write down, this is what I did. I'll tell you one other thing about journaling, and you will probably agree with this. I'm not very good at it. My wife is great. She doesn't journal, but that's how she prays. So my wife will kneel down next to our bed every night before bed, and I've asked her, what in the world are you saying for so long, because she'll stay there forever. That's what she does. She discusses her day with God, and
That's
then tells them
amazing.
the things she did well and the things she'd like to do better. And it's like, man, that is awesome. That's her way of,
Right?
yeah, it's really cool. And I struggle with that just a little bit, probably because I'm prideful and I, want to do it myself or whatever, but that's a neat way of doing things.
That's really awesome. A couple of takeaways from that. I think number one, how you talked, even where you got out some of those. You mentioned I got out some of those vengeful things, some of those things.
Yep.
I think maybe if you had never journaled those, you wouldn't have got them out. Because I've journaled some of the terrible things about myself, things I want to improve, things I'm not good at, and that I ultimately thank God for helping me move the needle, even if it's a little bit, right?
Sure.
But if you never do that, and again, we can even tie that back to the electronic devices. We're all so busy now. We're busy working, and we're busy being entertained, and we're busy doing these things. And just by taking 5-10 minutes a day to talk to God and tell him what you did well, what you'd like to improve on, or journaling that out, boy, it almost resets us the same way that
Totally.
if your computer's not running fast or your phone, what do? You turn it off and you let it
Off.
rest a little bit. Kind of journaling and meditating, praying is just a way to kind of turn our brains off and kind of get that out, right? And then
Yep.
we can kind of move forward a better version of ourselves after that. I think there's a lot of
I think
power
you're
behind
right.
it.
I think you're right. I try with my children hard to teach them that, but it's hard. They're so addicted. I mean, they're worse than we are, and we're bad. But
Yeah.
it's a real challenge. I'll tell you the other thing that another step that was really helpful to me and helps me now, and I try to teach my children also, is routine is critical. Routine
Mm.
is critical. When I first got locked up, all the old dogs that had done a lot of time, you'd say to them, well, how am I going to survive this? If you get them to talk to you, how am I going to do it? I got all these years and I got this family and my life's upside down. What do I do? And all they ever talked about was get a routine, build a
Mm.
routine, stick to it, and the days will just start to go by. And boy, was that the truth. And the routine was mostly told us to us. You had to get up at this time, and this is when the chow hall was open, and this is when you had to go do this job, and this is when you had time to work out, and this is when you had to be back for count and whatever else. But it was the monotonous routine that took away some of the thinking about how shitty my life was at the time that made a gigantic difference. And the same is true now. So I got to get up at this time. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to, read. I'm going to journal or whatever. Then I'm going to eat breakfast and I'm going to go to work, come home, and I'm going to schedule time to stop and put everything away and think. Schedule time to come to my bedroom and talk with my wife with our kids aren't allowed in there. We have time every night where no one can come in, and it's just her and I. And we can talk about the day, plan for the week, whatever we need to do. But routine is critical. If you're feeling like you're super depressed or stuck or can't get ahead in your life, I promise you don't have a steady routine. You're scrambling.
Bingo. Yeah, I always say, show me a person's daily routine and their daily habits, and I can show you their future, right? And it's to me, I call it stacking wins, just a little different way. But I'm like you. Before I go to bed every night, actually, I outline my next day. So
Right.
I'll actually write down, hey, I'm up at 6. My morning routine is going to take me 10 minutes. I'm at the gym by 6:20. I'm lifting shoulders. Then I come home and drink my shake. Then I got my family time. Then I go on a walk. Whatever that is, I'm scheduling out my day just to, like you said. So the day's not running me, I'm running it. And so it's a big flip of that mindset right there, right?
It's interesting that the progressive world, and I don't want to get too political, but the progressive world wants to say that lifestyle that you just described, or the one I'm living, is oppressive. You know what I mean? Oh,
Right.
What a terrible thing. And you got to punch the clock, you got to do the thing or whatever else. And it's so bad. But what people don't know is that it's the routine which frees your mind to be creative and to love and to be kind. That's where real happiness lies, is when you get rid of the worry of, your daily stuff, because it's all set. It's set in stone.
Right.
So
I look at it the same way we would do with our kids, right? I have young kids. Like, I don't tell my daughter, hey, what do you want to do today? How do you want to fill your 14 hours that you're awake or whatever? Like, dude, we have things set for them to do. That's on purpose, right? It's so that she doesn't feel overwhelmed, anxious, lost. I mean, you want to know why there's so much anxiety? There it is. People are always plugged into their phones and everything, and they don't have any plan. And they're just constantly taking in all this information, feeling overwhelmed by it without a plan. It's overwhelming. It is.
it's overwhelming.